The other day, I was sitting across from someone over dinner. He was a guy who was in his 30s. He was a successful entrepreneur. And he mentioned to me that while everything else was great in his life, he couldn't figure out how to get in shape. He'd been following my content for a few years, and he knew that I talked about this sort of stuff and that I occasionally flex the results of my clients and also my results as well. And he wanted advice on how to finally get his body into the best shape. Now, we talked about a lot of things over dinner, and afterwards it got me thinking. I get this question a lot when I'm giving talks, when I'm talking to people randomly. People will come up to me afterwards to chat, and many of them have this goal of getting in their best shape. So I thought I'd share my honest advice for those watching who have the goal to get into their best shape for this year. And just in case you're new to this channel, my name is Dan Go. I used to be fat, and I got so pissed off at myself that I became obsessed with all things fat loss and all things body transformation. After getting my body into shape, I decided to help others do the same. So I started and sold one of the top gyms in Toronto, and now I'm helping entrepreneurs with their bodies, helping them get in shape with ease and minimal stress. I'm now in the position where I consider myself to be more or less having mastered the art of coaching people into their best shape. So I feel like there are potentially some useful things that I can offer someone who wants to be in that position. All right, so point number one, you have to define success and find your why. So what is success to you? Is it having a six-pack? Is it being metabolically healthy? You're gonna see so many people on social media tell you that you should be looking like this or looking like that. What most people don't realize is they never ask themselves, well, what do you want? And the truth is, each goal has a different strategy in which to attain it. If you want a six-pack, that is getting yourself into probably your leanest shape. And you will have to be meticulous about the foods that you put into your body. And you have to get very detailed about each and every macro that comes in. And then you also have to deal with the eventual hunger that comes along with getting yourself into super low levels of body fat. Or if you just want to be metabolically healthy or to weigh a certain weight, then that is a little bit more flexible. You don't necessarily have to count your calories. You can just switch up the foods that you're eating from hyper-processed foods to single ingredient nutrient-dense foods. And again, each strategy and each goal is going to have a different strategy. But the main thing is you have to set the goal that means something to you. Then you have to ask yourself, okay, why do I want this goal? And when it comes to finding your why, you want your why to attaining this goal to be outside of any external influences. And what I mean by this is that if you're trying to do this in order to gain approval of someone else, or even a group of people, then you're not necessarily doing it for the right reasons. The why has to be very individual to you. It reminds me of the saying that having a strong enough why will help you overcome any type of how. And one of the things that we get our clients to do is just write a list of 10 whys as to why they want to achieve this goal. And what they realize as they're doing this, the first set of whys is usually surface level whys. I just want to look good. I just want to look better for my wife, whatever it is. And then once they get deeper and they have to really think about it, then they get into the visceral reasons why they want to be in shape. Like a couple of them that come up for me is, I want to get into my best shape because I want to be there for my daughters as long as humanly possible. I want to see them grow up. And I know that being in my best shape, being metabolically healthy is going to give me the best chance of seeing that. So you have to ask yourself, what is your why? What are going to be your reasons for you to get up and do things regardless of how you feel? You want to get clear on that because it's going to lead to the next one. Now, the next step is to set clear goals. So when you were thinking about what you want and why you want it, now you have to get into the clear, defined target that you are after. The thing about your mind is that it loves clarity. It's not enough to just say, I want to get in shape. If you tell your body that you just want to get in shape, then that could look like anything. What you want to do is you want to be very specific about the target that you are attaining. And what do I mean by defining a target clearly? It means that it can be measured. So if you want to get down to, let's just say 10% body fat, that can be easily measured. You can measure it through calipers, you can get a DEXA scan, you can do in-body scans, whatever it is, but you can measure 10% body fat clearly. If it's a weight target, you're not gonna tell yourself to lose 20 pounds. Your brain doesn't know how to conceptualize that. What you wanna do is, you wanna take your weight, minus the 20 pounds and say, this is what I want to weigh. Your mind doesn't work when you give it vague targets. It works when you clearly define exactly what it is that you want to attain. Now, the next part of setting these clear goals is what we call your time horizon. How long you give yourself to attain this outcome is going to dictate the plan in which to achieve it. And the biggest mistake that people make when they try to achieve goals with their bodies is trying to undo years of neglect in about 6 to 12 weeks. Something you have to understand, especially when it comes to getting in shape, especially when it comes to getting lean, is the fact that slow is fast and fast is slow. And what I mean by that is we are optimizing more so for sustainability over just achieving an outcome. And what this means is it's not enough to just get yourself down to the goal that you set for yourself. The true measure of success is getting yourself to the goal and sustaining it for the rest of your life. So when you give yourself a long enough time in which to achieve the goal that you're setting for yourself, you are allowing yourself flexibility. You're allowing yourself to make mistakes. But if you're trying to achieve a big goal within a short time period, then everything has to be condensed down to the detail. And any mistake will set you back even further than you think. So my preference for getting in shape is to literally give yourself a long time horizon. And what I mean by that is like at least a year or more. And I'll use myself as an example. So when my second kid came out, I got into the worst shape of my life. It was pretty bad. And I told myself, well, I'm gonna right this ship. I don't like the way I look. I'm definitely dissatisfied with how I'm performing right now. But it didn't say I'm gonna lose all this weight in like 12 weeks. I told myself, you know what's gonna happen? I'm going to give myself a full year because it's not enough for me to just lose the weight. Like I want to do this in a way that's fun, that's enjoyable, and also in a way that I can sustain for the rest of my life. And I really hope that if you're watching this, you give yourself a longer time in which to reach these goals, especially when it comes to your health and body. You overestimate what you can do in about 6 weeks, but you really underestimate what you can do in a full year. Now, the next step is to educate yourself, but not too much. So watch videos on how to control your calories, how to work out, read books. Like one of my favorite books of all time when it comes to body transformation is a book called, actually there's two of them. There's a book called Burn the Fat, Feed the Muscle by Tom Venuto. There's also another one that not a lot of people know of. It's called Lean Gains by Martin Berghan. When it comes to educating yourself and when it comes to watching videos and when it comes to reading books, this can be a form of procrastination. What you must avoid at all costs is over-education and under-execution. So when I first started to get myself into shape, I actually didn't read anything. But when I was starting, I was also very young and I didn't have a lot of money. And we didn't have YouTube back then either. So what I did is I got my ass to the gym. I looked at the little pictures on the machines that show you like how to do these exercises. I looked at how people were doing them. And then I just did it based on how these people were doing them. It's not a great way of educating yourself, but my thing was the more that I execute on what I learn, the faster it's going to be ingrained in my subconscious. With every single rep that you do, you're just going to get better and better and better. I like to educate while I apply at the same time. And then that is what I call like the best basis of learning, and actually doing the third basis, which is me teaching you the things that I know right now, which further ingrains this wisdom. So yes, you should be educating yourself. You should be learning how to do all this stuff. We have videos on everything that we're talking about. But again, do not use that as a form of procrastination. Make sure that you're executing along with educating. Now, you just don't want to be executing on anything. You want to be doing the next step, which is creating an action plan and finding a system. So we have a very simple system that helps all of our clients get their bodies into shape. And the way that we approach getting into shape, especially when it comes to getting lean, is that it is behind a system. So every successful business has a system. Every successful person has a routine and a way that they operate that brings and almost attracts success into their lives. And the same thing goes with body transformation. The same thing goes with getting in shape. Our system is very simple. It's called the ABS system. And let me take you through it right now. So number one is just going to be assessing your current state. You have to know exactly where you are. And this means that you have to track your metrics. So this could be things like on the surface level, which is like your weight, the inches around your waistline. And it can go a little bit deeper, like getting blood work or getting like an in-body scan or getting a DEXA scan. but you want to have some form of a dashboard for yourself when it comes to your health. And then what you measure is what you manage. So that's the first step. The second step in the system is called burn. We don't want to use workouts to burn fat. We want to use our diet for that shit. And there's a very specific reason. It's like if you're always trying to use your workouts in order to burn fat, then you're always going to have to keep up the same workouts in order to stay at the same body. And the thing about that is, it's just a law of diminishing returns. Like the more that you use your workouts, the less it's going to work for you because your body adapts. So you have to choose the right diet that helps you burn fat in a sustainable way. And I'm not going to get into like the whole diet thing and like what you should be eating and all this kind of stuff. Again, we have all these videos all over our channel. You can just like check those out and just watch them, and that will give you a good basis on what you should be doing. Now, the next part is going to be building. Now, along with getting lean, along with getting in shape, getting your body as lean as possible, you want to be using your workouts to build muscle. So one of the biggest mistakes that I see people make is that when they're trying to like lose weight, get in shape, they hit the pavement, they start jogging, and they start doing a low-calorie diet. And they may be losing weight, but what they don't realize is that they're also burning a shit ton of muscle if they're not doing any sort of weight training. So when it comes to like weight training helps you build and maintain muscle. I don't have to get into it. You know the basics already. But this is probably one of the key factors in making sure that your metabolism is running at an efficient rate. And the final part of the abs system is going to be sustainability. We want to be able to do things in a way that is a part of our lifestyle. It is a part of our routine. It's part of our habit. We almost want to make getting in shape as automatic as humanly possible, where you don't necessarily have to think about it. This is why we really harp down on systems over outcomes when it comes to getting our clients in shape. And when it comes to sustaining, it reminds me of a very specific rule when it comes to money. It's not enough to just make money. You have to keep it, if not grow the money as well. The same thing goes with your body. I mean, what's the point of like dropping 30 pounds off your body if you're just gonna gain it back? So the concept of sustain means that we are going to keep the results once we get them. We're gonna be doing different ways and different things in order to keep these results. And we actually have a video that is all about sustainable weight loss that you can check out right here. And during that period, we actually want to amplify the build portion. We actually want to use extra calories to help build muscle. And then this system creates this virtuous cycle where you are using something that is a routine that keeps you in shape the entire time, and you just don't necessarily have to think about it. And then that's the holy grail of getting in shape right there. And next, what we want to do is we want to optimize our environment to make getting in shape as easy as possible. And James Clear said that environment is the invisible hand that dictates your results. Look at your house, look at your pantry, look at your fridge. Is there anything in there that will take you off course? Is there anything in there that will make you want to go eat something that you necessarily don't want to eat, especially when it comes to your goals? So this is gonna sound weird, but something I did, especially when I was getting my body back in shape, was I took all of the stuff that my wife and my daughter were eating that were counterproductive towards my goals, and I had them put them in a room that I had zero access to. And I know that sounds a little bit extreme and a little bit crazy, but if there's anything you know about like the process of getting lean is that you actually amplify hunger, and then this amplifies your want to be eating foods that are anywhere around you. So I got them to just put this in the room, and even though it sounds weird, I don't give a f. It helps because I don't go into that room and I don't have access to those foods. And that helps me stay in shape. So the next part is look at your office, look at the place where you work. You want to be able to set up your office in a way where you are not going to have access to certain foods. The next part is also making working out as sticky as possible. It could be things like scheduling these workouts into your calendar, putting them in red, treating them as like flights that you can't miss. It could be things like always making sure that you have a spare pair of shoes and shorts and shirts inside of your car, just in case you forget your gym equipment. One of the best ways for me in terms of optimizing my environment for working out is having a gym that is super close to you. The ability to just walk to your gym, get into it, and to reduce the amount of friction that it takes for most people to get their asses to the gym, I would actually try to cut as many of these steps as possible that would prevent you from going to the gym in the first place. And one of the best things that I ever did was invest in my own home gym. So make an audit of your environment. What are the things that are preventing you from the goal that you set for yourself? And then I promise you, like when you do this like pre-work, you will find the aspect of doing all the behaviors that you need to get in shape so much easier. Now, this next part is probably the most important part of this whole video, and that is to fix your health mindset. So when I was fixing my finances, it wasn't just enough to just like budget out my money and do all this stuff and do all these tactical things. Like, I literally had to get my mindset prepped for being wealthy. And the same thing goes with your health. So you have to ask yourself, okay, so like, what are your current thoughts about health? What are your current beliefs about your body and also about others? Every single time you look at your body, what exactly goes through your mind? Do these thoughts, do these beliefs hinder you, or do they serve you? And probably the most controversial thought inside of this video is, it is okay to be very dissatisfied and even hate yourself into a fit body. Because if you have let things go, and if you have allowed yourself to go down a certain path and gain 20, 30, 40 pounds of fat on your body, I mean, there's no bones about it. Like, there has to be a mass amount of dissatisfaction in order to ignite yourself into change. But the caveat here is, while dissatisfaction and even hate can ignite yourself into a fit body, you have to evolve yourself to learning how to love and appreciate your body for what it can do. I think a lot of times when people think about their bodies, they have this negative mindset when it comes to it. Oh, I'm not lean enough, I'm too fat, and all this kind of stuff. And you know what? That's okay if it's true. But at the same time, you can get people into their lowest levels of body fat and they can still hate their bodies. How do I know this? I am guilty of this. I feel like there are two types of guys out there. You have guys that can be at any body type and just look at themselves and just be like, oh yeah, I'm in like the best shape possible. I remember I was watching a Joe Rogan podcast and there's this guy, Bert Kreischer, and if there's anything that you know about Bert, he's like 50 pounds, 60 pounds overweight, like just out of shape. But he made a statement where he said, you know what, Joe, I can beat you in push-ups. And Joe just looked at him and he was just like, what? There are people who have like this outsized overconfidence about their bodies, and I really wish I had that. I really do.
It got me.
Do you think you look jacked right now?
Dude, I am fucking jacked.
I
am low-key jacked.
You're low-key.
Feel my fucking arm. Just feel my arm.
And then you have people that don't necessarily have that confidence in their bodies. You have people that can get their bodies in shape, but always deal with this thing that we call body dysmorphia.
You can always be thinner, look better.
And for me, it's like, the more that you kind of like try to run on that negative energy in order to get your ass in shape, the more that's just gonna bite you in the ass later on. So it's a great igniter, but eventually over time, you're going to have to express appreciation and love for what your body can do. It's almost like treating your body like a baby or like an organism that is with you forever. You are sending messages every single day to that body, whether they be positive or negative. And for me, I feel so much more empowered when I start to love what my body can do, start to be very grateful for the fact that I can walk, for the fact that I can digest food, for the fact that I can use my hands, I can use my arms, for the fact that my brain is working. And it's this expression of appreciation that allows me to give love to what my body can do instead of looking at it in terms of like how it looks to myself and to others. So understand that you can hate yourself into a fit body, but if you want to keep it, if you want to be sustained, you have to learn to love it. Now, the next part is going to be in line with the thing that we just talked about. You want to surround yourself with like-minded people who have the same values as you. And show me your people and I will tell you your results. Now, what I'm not saying is that anyone who is not in line with you, with your goal and getting in shape, needs to be eliminated. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is you have to find a tribe where getting in shape and being in shape are a standard. And this reminds me of my move from the East Coast to the West Coast. So on the East Coast, I had all of my old friends and, you know, they had their own values and I wasn't necessarily around a lot of people who really valued health, even biohacking and even just like health optimization. I wasn't really around a lot of those people, or maybe they were like too far for me to even hang with in the first place. And then I moved to the West Coast, and the community that I have in the West Coast, health is the standard. I'm chilling around someone like Dan Martell, and just him emitting his standard of what health means to him it changes and it influences my standard. And again, I'm still with friends with everyone on the East Coast. I still have my family. We're all still like cool, but being in a different environment, in a different community where health is literally the standard and the value, that changes things. So as you start to get in shape, you're probably gonna find people who have the same values and have the same standards, and start chilling around these people a little bit more. Because we learn things not necessarily through learning them, but we also learn through osmosis, through the people that influence our behaviors. So find your health tribe, and it's not gonna happen overnight, but it will happen over time. Now, here's the final part. And the final part is to try to enjoy the journey as much as humanly possible. Something I love to do with my clients, especially because a lot of them are entrepreneurs, I want them to be objective about their bodies, much like they are with their businesses. So a lot of times with people, like when they step on the scale, they don't see a number that they like, they get emotional about it. They're like, ah. And it's okay to be emotional, but emotions don't necessarily lead to the best decisions. I liken body transformation to being like a video game or even building a business. So let's just like treat it like a video game. So this video game is like a role-playing game. So you're collecting experience points every single time that you put healthy food into your body. You are collecting more experience points every single time that you hit the gym and you hit some PRs and you're building up your character. And it's almost like treating it like a game rather than treating it like something that's like life and death. The more that we can enjoy this whole process of doing all the things and doing all the behaviors to get ourselves in shape, the more fun the process is going to be, and probably the more sustainable it's going to be as well. And here's the reason why this is so important, is because a lot of times when people perceive the act of getting their bodies in shape, they think of it as like this whole thing about deprivation, where I'm just depriving myself and I have to go to the gym to like, you know, get in shape, and I don't want to do it, and I have to feed myself rabbit food and like all this kind of stuff. It is your perception that is going to be the biggest detriment or the biggest benefit to the actual thing that you want to do. It reminds me of the Harvard study that came out where the way in which people perceive stress is going to affect them either positively or negatively. And the same goes with your journey of getting your body in shape. Your perception of what you are doing and why you are doing it is going to be way more powerful than any tactical advice that I could give you to get your body in shape. So my whole thing is to change the frame of which you are approaching this. And I love building businesses, and I also kind of like playing video games. So I treat it like either one of those things, and that's actually what makes it fun for me. So find a way to enjoy this journey and make it fun for you. It's not about fads, it's not about quick fixes. It's really about doing the right things, having the right systems, and having the right mindsets, and having the right frame of which you are approaching this entire process. And when you follow these steps, I'm not going to guarantee that you're going to lose all the weight or get lean or get in shape in like 12 weeks. But what I will say is that if you give yourself a longer time horizon and give yourself time to actually really work on these things, you will not only get yourself into your best shape in a year, but you'll also have a greater chance of keeping it. I talked about a video before about sustainable weight loss, and I think that the evidence-based principles that I have in that video are going to be so helpful to someone who not only wants to lose the weight, but also keep it off. So click this video right over here, and I'll see you on the other side. Peace.